Can extreme hunger make people lose their minds? They grabbed a shark in the ocean, stabbed it to death, and started eating it raw. The first full meal in 27 days for the trio. They were U.S. soldiers in World War II when their plane malfunctioned and crashed into the ocean. Luckily, they had a life raft. They survived for a while with food from the raft. But today, they're out of food. Suddenly, a plane appeared in the sky. They waved their hands, took out their flare guns and shot out. The plane spotted them. The three of them hurriedly jumped into the sea. It was an enemy fighter plane. It's not just bullets they have to dodge. It's sharks in the water. He grabbed the rope and kicked the shark away. The three managed to survive, but the life raft was shot to hell. They started patching up the holes. Suddenly, he fought off the shark, couldn't hold on any longer. His eyes widened and he breathed his last. They pushed their partner into the sea and watched him sink. On the 45th day, the two of them had no strength left and stared blankly at the sky. Today could be the day they die. They were suddenly enveloped by a huge shadow, a Japanese warship. They were about to be transferred from one hell to another. He was put in a cell by the Japanese, and through the door, he saw his companions being abused. He hissed in anger, but there was nothing he could do. The Japanese asked them for secrets. If they wouldn't talk, they were beaten. They stripped them to their knees, and cold water washed over them. The man sobbed, facing the sea, life and death. He did not cry, but now his dignity was trampled on, which makes him unacceptable. They were blindfolded and taken to a Japanese concentration camp. The commander here, Watanabe, was a demon who used to beat the prisoners of war just because a man looked at him one more time. He was beaten. He was knocked down and up again and again. They were made to stand until nightfall. The next day, Watanabe came back for more trouble. Knowing that the man was an Olympic champion, he ordered him to compete with his men in a running race. He was incapable of running due to chronic malnutrition and fell down before he could finish. Instead of choosing to fall down, he got up and ran the whole distance. He fell down again, and Domhnall came over.
You are nothing.
Cannon fire sounded in the distance. Japan was about to lose the war. He must live and survive until the war is won. This is the best revenge for Watanabe. In a Japanese concentration camp, a long line of men stood before them. They were asked to each punch their comrade in arms hard. Watanabe found a wounded man, and if one man didn't want to, he would hit the wounded man once. There was no choice but to comply. Heavy punches were thrown at his face, but they could not break his will.
Come on! Hit me!
He was knocked to the ground, and the Japanese soldiers picked him up again and continued to take the punches until the sun went down. The torture was inhuman, but the man never begged for mercy. On this day, the man was approached by Japanese journalists who wanted to use the man's status as an Olympic champion to create pressure for the United States to read a piece on the radio. If he did as he was told, he would be treated as favorably as several of the men behind him and would never have to return to a POW camp again. The man didn't hesitate. He refused. He would rather return to a POW camp than betray his country. Watanabe became even crazier, and he began to beat the man for no reason. This life lasted until winter. When the man received good news, Watanabe was promoted and transferred elsewhere. The war has also hit this side, and the war is coming to an end. But it is not good news for them. Once Japan is defeated, it will kill all prisoners of war. They were transferred to another camp where it was freezing cold and a much harsher existence. And the man sees the one person who has broken his soul as Watanabe. Watanabe is not at all polite to this old acquaintance and comes up with a state. The work here is much more strenuous, and the slightest slip can cause you to fall to your death. Watanabe begins to target the man, pushing him off the high platform as he labors. He hissed in pain. One of his legs was broken and he could only walk with a limp. On this day, Watanabe approached the man and asked him to lift a 60-pound stake. The man tried desperately to lift the stake. He hadn't eaten for a day. With his bony body, he desperately picked up the stake, slowly lowered it onto his shoulders, and then raised it above his head.
If he drops it, shoot it.
His legs couldn't stop trembling, and his consciousness began to blur. He wasn't afraid of dying, only of having his will destroyed by the enemy. Everyone stopped working and began to cheer the man on. His eyes stared at Watanabe in death. It was unyielding from the bone, powerful from the soul. Watanabe couldn't believe what kind of will the man in front of him possessed. Watanabe rushed over and beat the man like crazy. From this moment on, Watanabe was defeated, and he was defeated completely. No matter what ordeal they suffered, the man never gave in. That day the war ended and Japan was defeated. The prisoners of war were herded into the water of the pool, and looking around at the soldiers with guns, they realized they were going to be executed. Suddenly there was a roar in the distance. It was Allied airplanes. Everyone cheers and enjoys the victory. The man is rescued back to his homeland. He kisses the soil of his home and hugs his family tightly. This is a true story. His name is Louis Zamperini. Because of his faith, he let go of his hatred and chose to forgive. He traveled to Japan and chose to reconcile with his former enemy. Unfortunately, Watanabe was unwilling to meet him. In the 1998 Olympics, at the age of 80, Louis came to Japan again as a torchbearer. He smiled and waved to the children of Japan, a country he had once envied and hated, and which had become a friendly neighbor in times of peace. The protagonist of the story, Coen, is just an amiable old man, judging from his experience as a prisoner of war.